following. This information was compiled after thorough investigation. Following are selections from the report. If you would like to obtain a copy of the full-length document, please listen for instructions at the end. Okay. It has been 13 years since a group of Orthodox Jewish rabbis in Israel declared wearing wigs made from even one strand of ritually tonsured means to, cut off for the sake of the Avodah Zarah in their Hindu temples. Tonsured hair from India as taking part of idolatry. It was ruled that such wigs were forbidden to be worn. This very dramatic incident was put to rest when the Shaitel companies managed to procure raw hair from sources other than Indian under rabbinic supervision. This supervision spared Jewish women from the very serious transgression of idolatry through wigs and permitted the use once again. Unfortunately, recent investigators have exposed the majority of hair currently being used in the wig industry, and that it has always been Indian temple hair. It's being bought and relabeled as European, Brazilian, Mongolian, Russian, Chinese, Peruvian, Uzbekistan hair. The human hair trade is unregulated and has no oversight. Importers, wholesalers, suppliers, manufacturers, and merchants are able to label the hair at their own will. And this can be confirmed in, just as a side note, this can be confirmed in all sorts of books on the hair industry that are written by non-Jews who have nothing to do with our religion or our preferences. And they themselves, report how it's so corrupt and there's no regulation, and, the people just tell you what you want to hear. So a supplier will go to buy, hair, let's say Mongolian hair, and the person selling it knows full well that, they're just, one book was saying that, if someone comes to buy Mongolian hair, they hand up a certain strand of hair. And if someone walks in wanting Peruvian hair, they hand up the same strand of hair. And they just tell whatever they want to people to hear so that they'll be able to make a sale. Okay, this fuels a lucrative and deceptive industry. Vince Salva, a 75-year-old Indian importer and owner of Indo-Asian Human Hair in Inglewood, California, he has been in the hair industry for close to 30 years. Quote, "It is my professional opinion that 98% of the hair sold worldwide is originally sourced from the Indian temple hair." Vince says, "Because big money is involved, there are many lies in the industry. China, which is the biggest manufacturer of wigs today, buys their hair in huge quantities from Indian temples because of the copious supply and reasonable price, and then relabel it." So, if you go online trying, this as a side note, if you go online trying to find, let's say, long blonde hair, just to, say cut off from some person, it sells for $1,500. Let's say, that goes all the way down the back. But it takes more than one head of hair to make a long wig. It takes up to 5. So you can see why, how is it possible for all our wigs that, they don't cost, $6,000-7,000 for the raw material. How is it that we can have so many long wigs, but they don't cost that much? And the answer is because, in the Hindu religion, they grow it long and they don't cut it except for ritual purposes, and they donate it for free, as a gift to their deities. So that's the answer. How do you have such, even though it costs, say, $4,000 for a very, very long wig, the markup on that is huge because it passes through quite a few hands before it gets to the consumer. Getting back to the report. With a population of roughly 1.3 billion people, just over 600 million are women. With those demographics, India certainly has the capacity to supply human hair at a global level. You can actually see documentaries online. You just type in, Indian temple hair, and they have some where they show, I was watching one, and they show it from the start where people walk up to the temple, and then they show them, preparing the head to be shaved, and then they shave it off, and then it drops on the floor, and everybody's in line, and the men shave their head and their beard and everything, and the women shave off their hair, and then it gets bagged by length. And anyway, I was just watching that they had this scene where there was like a gate, and there were all these Indians waiting to come, donate their hair for religious purposes. And the person walks up to the gate, he opens the gate, and these grown men who are like, 30, 40, 50, they are like jogging with exuberance to go, sacrifice their hair. Like they're all excited, and they're like almost running down the corridor. It's a video called like Culture Unplugged, and then you just type in Indian temple hair in Google. You used to be able to watch it. And anyway, and then they show exactly all the steps until you get to the final product, which are, a wig or hair extensions. Once the large portions of hair are removed, the barbers use a razor to shave each pilgrim's head. On average, each woman donates about 10 ounces of hair. Baskets filled with hair are collected every 6 hours and stored in vast warehouses where it is piled knee-deep. After the temple tonsuring, the hair gets washed by hand in giant baths, then pulled through long beds of spikes to smooth and separate. Yeah, you can see that all yourself on that video. There's several videos like that. And they were made by, non-Jewish people just making documentaries on the wig industry. At this stage, the hair is chemically soaked to remove the pigment, and then they can make it any shade of blonde or red or any color.
So now, do you have an answer to this question?
Sure.
Why are they hiding the fact that they're using Indian temple hair for the Goyim as well?
I think the reason is because it's more exotic to say, it's Brazilian or...
They could charge much more money, right?
Yeah.
Indian temple hair is very cheap, and they want to charge it for a lot more.
Right. Yeah, I think so.
It's not like just for us that they're hiding the fact. It's just, even in the general industry.
Right, but I think when it comes to us, I think that we probably are quite a big, consumer of the hair. So, it sounds like that, since that happened 13 years ago, the whole thing kind of went undercover,
right?
Perhaps for the benefit of us, or
the benefit of another.
If you want to call it right, not really a benefit, but because I was reading in a book, and it was saying that this person was quoted in saying, since that rabbi, 10 years ago, I guess that's when the book was written, like maybe 3 years ago or something, since that rabbi, made that ruling that, women can't have Indian hair, the hair has to travel a very long way now before it gets to the Jewish consumer. I'm just paraphrasing, but that's pretty much what he said. It was
right, and I heard from another place that they said, the Jews had just made their lives so much more complicated. Until then, it was direct purchase, India to the companies. And now the hair has to travel, to faraway places like Peru, whatever, and then, they're just making their life so much more complicated, just a long transit, that's it. Okay.
So I'll read some.
Yeah, continue. It's great. It's really interesting.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, so in India, there's 1.21 billion Indians. I think there's like about 350 million Americans, right? So that kind of gives you an idea of how many Indians there are. And 85% of that population are Hindu. And of them, 652 million women are Hindu. And so that's like, more than double the population of the U.S., men, women, children. They're all Hindu, and it says in the Hindu religion it's good to sacrifice their hair at least once in a lifetime. However, people do it much more than that. Anytime they want to give thanks, for like a good test score, or their husband was healed. I was reading one book that this woman came to donate her hair because her husband had, a healing, and then also her son got a good test score, and she wanted to donate her hair in thanks, and she was tearing in gratitude to her, deity. While she was being interviewed by this person. Okay. In just one of the temples, Tirumala, 85,000 heads are shaved daily in the holiday season. That's the one, this this largest temple, where a large portion of the hair comes from, they have the deity's name is, I think, Vishnu, and it's like a 7-foot black idol that's like in the temple, and there's like a whole legend that goes behind it, like, I don't know. I was reading. It was saying that he got hit on his head. There's like 2 reasons why they donate hair. Number 1 is he got hit on his head in their legend, and he lost a piece of hair. And then this like princess gave her part of her hair, and so he promised her as a thanks or gratitude that all the future devotees will donate hair to him, and he will give it to her as a gift, and that she'll get all the hair, as a reward or something. So that was number 1. And number 2 was that like he needed it as a dowry or something like that, so that everybody who donates their hair, they're like helping this god pay for his dowry to his wedding or something. I mean, in both cases, it's both it's a physical gift offering. Anyway, so this 7-foot black idol, they clean it every day, and they decorate it with flowers and food offerings. It's like, as devoted as you can get. Out of all the religions in the world, I would say Hinduism is right there at the tippy top, as far as, I think they have like over 1 million deities or something like that I was reading. It's really intense. 1,800 barbers in the holiday season and 700 otherwise, they work around the clock in shifts. And people just come up, lines and lines of people. They travel from all over India to go to these temples to make pilgrimages to donate their hair. There's a picture on this Indian report that shows the Indian temple hair, and then there's another picture beneath it that says a snapshot of kosher certified hair sold as, quote, European hair. It looks exactly the same. I think that a person who is, kind of thinking into things will ask themselves the question, how is it possible that there are so many wigs out there, not just for the Jewish world, but for the whole world? And it's not made with Indian hair. Like, you don't see bald people walking around Europe or walking around Russia or whatever. People, either they donate it for a religious reason, or they're so poor that they're willing to cut off their hair to put food on the table. But that type of poverty really is not common. In fact, China used to donate hair for that reason, but recently it's really dropped off because their economy has gotten better enough that the women don't have to go to such great lengths to feed their family. They can hold on to their hair and still feed their family rice and potatoes or whatever they're going to eat, and not have to sacrifice their self-esteem. So those are really only the 2 main reasons why someone would cut their hair, because they're not getting paid that much in these villages to cut off their hair. The markup is, I don't know what percentage, but it is, what somebody gets paid for cutting off their ponytail is nothing compared to what the final product is. And so, I always ask myself before I read this report, I'm like, how is it possible that it's not Indian hair? Because, like, where are all the bald people walking around Europe? But all these wigs are European hair? How is that possible? And, again, Rabbi Elyashiv ruled, he said 1 hair in a wig full of thousands of hairs, 1 hair is from India. The whole thing is usher until you take out the hair. But how are you going to know which hair to take out? They all look the same. Some vendors play tricks on customers by maintaining several seemingly independent websites offering an array of differently labeled hair. One site sells, quote, Russian hair, and another site sells, quote, other hair. One company in Dublin, Ireland, which sells processed, quote, made in China hair, shamelessly advertises it as, quote, Spanish hair, and then offers the same products as, quote, Russian hair on another site. Images of hair suppliers in Moscow on yet another site deceive buyers into the belief that this same vendor is selling virgin Russian hair. And, Russian hair is very fine and brittle. It's not strong. So what I was reading in a book, it was saying that you could either you could either perm it or you could color it, but you can't do both. So you have